This is Hippostick's new OC outrigger paddle. This is my favorite paddle. It's only 100 square inches and maxes out width at 8 5/8. So it's actually a small paddle by outrigger standards, but a bunch of design features we put into this blade allow it to bite super aggressive. So this is a small blade with a big catch, and it actually has a real clean light release. This for me, I found really helps with my aggression. I tend to over accelerate, and the paddle catching really hard saves me on the front end, and it actually teaches me to back off and control the middle. Now this is ideal for lighter crafts such as OC1s or the new unlimited canoes. Now the OC paddle comes with two different shafts. So we have the straight shaft, and we also comes in a double bend. Now the big difference on this is because the connection point's in the middle, we did not change the angle of the blade. So on the straight shaft, we have the standard angle of 10 degrees. When you do the double bend, that changes the angle from where your hands are to where the blade is. So it actually has less bend on the new double bends. Now what that does is it creates even a more aggressive, harder bite. So I prefer the double bend for shorter distance, bigger accelerations, faster speeds. However, when I'm doing Molokai for 4 hours by myself, I like the straight shaft. That little bit more bend on the blade is a little bit more forgiveness. So although I lose my top end speed, it allows me to paddle further with less fatigue. So on the new OC blades, these are ideal for those lighter crafts. When you're on a 20-pound OC1 or in a 140-pound unlimited, these boats biting super aggressive allows you to get your energy into the front, get your aggression into the front, and get your power into the front of the stroke and connect. But then the paddles being small will not allow you to rip the middle of the stroke. It actually teaches you to back off on the middle and control. So on these lighter boats, you can get the aggression you always wanted and the control in the middle. When you move into the 400-pound boats or the 450-pound boats, because those are so heavy and there's so much weight involved, we actually try and go to a bigger paddle, something that will allow us to move those heavy boats when there's no momentum in them. This is Hippostick's Tahitian blade. Now it's designed off of many of the paddles in Tahiti, and what we did on this is we actually added a rounder base to the bottom of the blade, and this actually softens the catch. So the paddle is 110 square inches, which is a big paddle by outrigger standards, but we only made it 9 1/8 wide. So it's actually a little bit narrower than most of the Tahitian blades you see on the market, which are 9.5 or even 10.5 inches. By being narrower, it allows the catch to be a little bit softer, and I found with a really big paddle, I don't want it to hurt too much as soon as I put it in the water. With the blade being so big is it holds on really, really well, and with the catch being nice and soft, it actually creates a little bit of patience where you have to connect to the water before you go. But now when you're in the heavier boats, when you're in the 400-pound boats, you can add a little bit of extra to the middle, to the end. If you have that need for speed and you want to drive, then this will hold. Once this paddle is set, it is locked in, and it also has a clean release. As you can see on the back, there's not a lot going on. It's just going to come right out. We do have our 1/4 inch, just a little bit of bend right at the tip. But the big blade with the nice round soft catch is going to allow you to connect and control. So for a lot of you paddlers that like to paddle on the bigger boats, that like to kind of cruise and have a nice steady low rate speed rhythm, this is the paddle for you. Now the Tahitian paddle comes only in a double bend, and we found this is ideal for changing the angle of your hand, especially when you're on a V1 and you have to paddle steer. This is Hippostick's new steering blade. As you can see, we actually added a small ridge to the back, and it does two things. One, it allows us to put a stringer in here, which adds to the strength when you're trying to steer a 45-foot long canoe. Two, this little ridge right here allows the blade to lock into the side of the boat. So when you put it against the side of the boat, water comes across one side and it presses it in. Now the big advantage to this paddle is Hippostick only makes this paddle in all carbon. The fact that the paddle is significantly lighter than most of the steering blades that are on the market really helps with longevity. And what I've found as a steersman myself is even when we're going 20, 30, 40 miles, it is very rare that they let the steersman out of the boat. So any advantage I can have that saves me for the end of the race is a huge advantage. So being the lightest steering paddles on the market is a great advantage.